Well, just look at the way some of these stocks in the broader markets are moving now. Take a look at something like Somani Ceramics. It's up almost 19% at this point in time and moved to the highest point of trade. Somani Ceramics should come up for you on the screen. BEML is another stock. BEML has been a very good mover this year. It's given you 53% returns this year already, and today the stock is up almost about 10-odd%. And take a look at some of these other names, the likes of Quality, etc., that we've spoken about earlier. That too is up almost about 8-odd%. But Mr. Tulsian, I wanted to discuss some stocks with you that were in the news. Pipavav Defence is one stock that should come up on the screen. As we know, Reliance Infra has now acquired controlling stake in Pipavav Defence by buying additional 17% for almost 850 crores. Mr. Tulsian, how did you read into this, and what should the average investor do now?
See, again now, 2-3 things have got clarified and 2-3 confusion continues to remain. If you see the quick background, Skill Infra, the original promoters, they sold 17.66% stake to ADAG Group. And at that time, there was a condition that if open offer, if they don't evoke any response to the open offer, they will see that increase, the stake of Reliance Infra increases to 25.1%. But now, since they have got 17% stake in the open offer against 26%, open offer was for 26%, so the effective stake of the ADAG group has got increased to sub 35%, closer to about 34.5. This is again the market sources news that 17% has been the response, and if we presume that to be correct. Now, if you see, the 42% stake was originally held by Skill Infra. Of that, 18% has gone there. So 24 to 25% is still held by the Skill Infra or maybe Nikhil Gandhi. So can we say that both are joint promoter? Because I've been seeing market talking, this is ADAG company, Reliance Infra company. So there are no clarity from both of the management, because ADAG now holds 35%, Nikhil Gandhi or Skill Infra will be holding 25%. And if you see the 52%, the remaining, I'm talking because originally, as I say, 42%, and of that 58% public float, 53% were all with HNIs and everything. And of that, about 35% stake was held by 10 investors, so 35% stake. So I presume that the balance, because only 5% float was there amongst the 95,000 shareholders. So if I presume that the big investors have exited that 17% which has been tendered, I don't think that public shareholder must have tendered more than 3% of the stake which they are holding, closer to about 5%, because all the public shareholders of 93,000 shareholders cannot participate. So more than 3% must not have come. So this 14%, I'm just breaking that 17%, 14% must have come from those 52% HNIs, which is held. So what will be the scenario now? 35% are ADAG, 25% Nikhil Gandhi, that is 60%, 35% will continue to remain with those 10 shareholders, 95%, and then the public float. So now, whether you will be taking a call on this joint ownership or the single ownership and the low public float, because it all depends. One has to wait for the fresh issue as well, because as a corporate debt restructuring plan, I presume that ADAG will infuse the fund and then they will eventually increase their stake. So all these corporate developments, once we get the clarity on the open offer, only has to be taken. But I don't think that any fundamental changes have happened. Yesterday, if you recall, Anuj, at 11:30 we have seen suddenly the stock hitting upper circuit. Yes. That was not the reason for the, probably it could be low float. As I said, that paucity of the floating stock. There are no stocks, because and even this open offer which has closed day before, the balance sheet, no shares will come back because the entire 100% acceptance will be there. So virtually there are no stocks. Nobody wants to sell. Otherwise they would have tendered it in the open offer. So whatever small quantity if you want to buy, you can pull up the share price. So don't take this as a fundamental value. Wait for these all clarity to emerge and then only take a call. Then only plunge into the stock. Otherwise it can be little risky. Yeah.
Okay. Dilip, a couple of other stocks where we have seen a bit of activity today, Larsen & Toubro and ICICI Bank, and both these stocks have been the problem point for the bulls. You've seen ICICI hit 52-week low continuously. Larsen has done that all through last week. What's your call on both these heavyweights?
So let me start off with L&T. I think L&T really has taken it on the chin for a variety of reasons. And I think some of the most pressing problems being that they pay a very high interest cost, they have very high debt on a consolidated basis. And I think even the execution rate and the warning guidance all have really added to the woes of the company. But having said that, I think it is still the big headline bet one can take on Larsen & Toubro. that it is still going to be the main company which will participate very actively in the India's growth story. And I think that is really very conveniently been pushed to the background at the moment. And I think as the market picks up, I feel that Larsen & Toubro will participate very actively and properly. And even otherwise, if you take a slightly longer term view of 12 to 15 months, I think this stock can give a very handsome return, I think outperforming the markets.
Mr. Tulsian, we've seen this happen with Emami as well, where they acquired Kesh King. But just your prima facie comment on how this will work for HUL?
See, one has to really compare the financials, but if you go by the ballpark numbers, what we are getting top line of 100 crore, that means they have paid 3.3 times of the top line. And 30% EBITDA, if I take that, that means 30 crore. That means they got the EBITDA multiple of maybe about 11 times. That looks quite attractive because generally, I don't have the Kesh King figures, but I think the top line was given a multiple of maybe 3 plus. But I'm not very sure about the EBITDA. Even EBITDA was higher in that case. EBITDA multiple, what Emami have paid for Kesh King was higher. But yes, the deal looks quite interesting at 330 crore. Yeah.
Okay. Dilip, a word on some of these auto names and the kind of move that we have seen, especially on M&M. What's your call on that one now?
Well, I think the headwinds continue to be there, whether it's tractors, and now probably in Delhi they are just run into some of the problems. So I would say that I would still wait before really start buying the stock. But surely this is definitely on the radar. I think at the lower levels I would still say maybe another 8 to 10% down, I would still look to buy this particular stock. Because otherwise all the rest of the things are really in place, whether it's a raw material cost, good management, good cash flows. But I think some of these things will just prevent me from really accumulating these stocks at the current levels.